6:19 a.m., Caribbean Sea, 140 miles off the Venezuelan coast. The USS Gerald R Ford is slicing through glassy water when radar picks up two contacts screaming in from the south. Not civilian traffic, not a drill. Two Venezuelan K-8 light attack jets, hauling ass toward the carrier group at low altitude, closing fast. No radio hail, no warning, just aggression wrapped in wings and afterburners. On deck, flight crews freeze mid-check as the whine of turbojets cuts through the humid air. Then they appear, two dots against the sunrise, hugging the deck at 2,000 feet, closing the gap like they own the ocean. The lead jet cranks into a hard bank across the Ford's bow. Classic intimidation tactic. A buzz pass designed to rattle nerves and make a political point. Except the Ford doesn't rattle. From the bridge, the CO watches through binoculars, expression flat. "Hold course," he says. No drama, no flinching. The Venezuelan lead pulls vertical, afterburner trails glowing orange against the dawn sky. The wingman follows, rocking his wings like he's trying to impress someone. It's theatrical, dangerous, and completely pointless when you're showboating in front of a 100,000-ton nuclear-powered warship whose SPY-3 radar can lock a seagull at 50 miles. Down in the Combat Information Center, the Ford's air controllers are already dissecting every frame on infrared feeds. Hard points, empty, weapons pylons, clean. This isn't a strike run, it's posturing. The airborne equivalent of chest puffing at a bar, except the bouncer weighs as much as a small city and has missiles. Here's the thing about playing chicken with a supercarrier. One miscalculation, one twitch on the stick, and you're not just embarrassing yourself, you're provoking a nuclear-armed superpower with global reach and zero patience for amateur hour. At 0621 hours, both jets peel away south, engines fading toward the Venezuelan coast. For about 90 seconds, it looks like the show's over. Spoiler, it's not, because at 0623, the radar picture lights up again. And what happens next turns a reckless flyby into a full-blown international incident. Inside CIC, the lighting is dim, the air electric with focus. Green radar scopes glow across the bulkhead. Every operator already tracked the first two contacts. But now something's wrong. Combat, second wave inbound, bearing 217, high speed, climbing. Another pair, 4 total now, all headed straight for the Ford strike group. The watch officer leans over the console. Plot them, query IFF. Negative IFF, no response to standard hails. The room goes quiet except for the hum of electronics. Nobody panics. They've drilled this scenario 100 times. Upstairs, Air Wing 8 snaps into motion. 2 FA-18E Super Hornets get pushed to the catapults. Yellow shirts wave them forward. Deck crews crouch low. Engines spool up. Hornet 1, wings spread, trim set, ready for launch. Thumbs up from the pilot. The shooter drops his hand, and 30 tons of metal and fury rips off the bow in a violent blur of sound and steam. The second Hornet follows 10 seconds later, both climbing hard, banking left toward the incoming radar returns. Their mission is simple: intercept, identify, and if possible, de-escalate before this gets messy. Down in combat, the operations officer watches the big board. Range closing fast. Bridge, combat. Recommend tightening escort screen. Bring destroyers Mason and Thomas Hudner forward. Approved. Maintain speed and heading. The Ford doesn't turn, doesn't slow. To civilians, it might look arrogant. To the Navy, it's doctrine. American carriers don't yield to noise. They are the noise. By 0626, the Hornets are passing through 15,000 feet. Engines screaming, radar scopes lighting up with 4 solid returns. And what they're about to see will confirm that this isn't some navigational error. This is deliberate. At 15,000 feet, sunlight hammers the Hornets like a spotlight. Engines howl as they push east, vectoring toward the unknowns. Lead pilot, call sign Viper 1, scans his radar display. 4 contacts, tight formation, altitude climbing. Control Viper 1, confirm bandits, 4 contacts, bearing 217, Angel 16. Copy, Viper 1. Positive ID, Venezuelan K-8Ws. Rules of engagement, defensive posture only. Roger that. We'll keep it professional. Below them, the Ford is a tiny silhouette on blue water, flanked by destroyers in perfect diamond formation. The carrier's SPY-3 radar is painting the entire sky, feeding real-time data straight into the Hornet's helmet displays via data link. Every metric, speed, altitude, vector, flows seamlessly into their cockpits. At Aero 628, the lead K-8s punch through a thin cloud layer, contrails streaming behind them. Viper 1 to contact. Identify yourself immediately. You are approaching a U.S. carrier group operating in international airspace. Static. Then a voice. Thick accent. Dripping attitude. U.S. aircraft. You violate Bolivarian airspace. You will turn away. Now. The Venezuelans cut across the Hornet's nose at 400 knots. One so close that Viper 1's helmet display flashes proximity alert in red. Watch your spacing, his wingman calls. Viper 1 tightens his grip on the stick. We're not here to dance, boys. Just don't get stupid. Back on the Ford, every radar scope tracks it in real time. Flight paths crossing within seconds of collision. Bridge, combat. Venezuelan aircraft executing unsafe maneuvers. Copy that. Maintain calm posture, no course change. One thing's crystal clear now. This isn't a mistake. It's bait. At 17,000 feet, the two Super Hornets shadow the Venezuelan formation like wolves tracking a reckless herd. The sky is bright, tense, clouds drifting below like cotton over endless blue. On Viper 1's FLIR screen, the K-8s tighten their formation. No missiles loaded, but empty hard points glint in the sun. Visual intimidation, pure theater. Control, they're crossing into our flight. Path again, distance 800 meters. Copy, maintain shadow posture. Record everything. The Ford's E-2D Hawkeye, circling high above, feeds its radar picture directly into the Hornet's helmets. Every move catalogued, every deviation tracked. Below, the carrier's crew watches the data unfold like a live chess match. Then one Venezuelan jet breaks formation, sharp left bank, aggressive, dangerously low, straight across Viper 2's nose. The American pilot's tone stays ice cold. Ford control, contact just executed a proximity pass, range 200 meters. Down in CIC, the SPY-3 radar sweeps track every angle in perfect digital clarity. On the big board, the distance drops to 6 miles from the carrier. Bridge, combat. Recommend alerting CIWS to stand by. Affirmative, do not engage. The K-8s bank again, closing tighter, almost too tight. The next pass will bring them within heartbeats of disaster, and this time, someone's going to push it too far. 0632 hours. Inside the Ford's CIC, every console glows with controlled precision. Operators track 4 red icons weaving through the sky above the blue outline of the strike group. The bridge stays silent. No shouting, no chaos. Just disciplined focus. Contacts now within 12 miles. A radar tech calls out. Speed holding, high subsonic. Copy. The tactical action officer responds without emotion. CIWS to warm standby. Phalanx, manual mode. Above deck, sailors glance skyward. They can't see the jets clearly, but they can feel the tension. Every vibration through the deck plates. Every coded message over comms. The Ford holds steady. 20 knots, north-northwest. The destroyers Thomas Hudner and Mason tighten their screen, forming a steel wall ahead of the carrier. Electronic warfare suites go active, quietly jamming enemy sensors just enough to muddy any targeting radar. On the flight deck, air crews stay in motion. Refueling hoses snap. Deck handlers wave signals. Launch crews stand ready for a second scramble if needed. Nobody panics. This is routine, and that's what makes it so unnerving. Inside CIC, a calm voice breaks the silence. Bridge, combat. Contacts now 8 miles. Still closing. The Ford's captain steps closer to the central console, eyes locked on the radar screen. Maintain heading. Do not alter speed. It's not stubbornness, it's doctrine. A U.S. carrier doesn't yield under pressure. The captain's words carry through the bridge like iron. If we move for every jet that postures, the sea stops respecting the flag. Outside, the K-8s continue their approach, dipping low enough for their shadows to ripple across the ocean. And then one of them dives. The Venezuelan lead jet rolls inverted at barely 1,000 feet and dives straight toward the carrier group. The second follows close, cutting through the sky like a blade. From the Ford's bridge, it looks reckless, an intimidation run gone way too far. Bridge, combat, contacts now within 5 miles, altitude dropping fast. Down below, the Phalanx CIWS turret slews automatically, its 20mm barrel tracking the lead aircraft. The system's sensors detect movement faster than any human eye can blink. The only thing keeping it from firing is a silent command: stand by. In the sky, Viper 1 and Viper 2 lock their helmets toward the Venezuelans, cameras recording everything through the canopy. The American pilot can see the other man's face, visor glinting, jaw tight, hands trembling on the stick. Ford control, they're coming in hot, range 1.2 miles. Copy, hold your line, do not escalate. The first K-8 roars over the destroyer Mason's bow, engines screaming, wake turbulence rolling off its wings. The shockwave hits the sea like thunder, rocking the ship. Then, with zero clearance, it passes over Viper 2, less than 600 feet between them. Ford Tower, we've got unsafe maneuvering, Viper 2 shouts. That's a near miss. Maintain discipline, the response comes back, calm and precise. The Hornets don't react. No radar locks, no counter moves. They simply slide behind the Venezuelans, shadowing them like ghosts. On board the Ford, the CIWS spins quietly, sensors locked but silent. The entire strike group holds its breath. For 10 seconds, both sides hang in that impossible balance, one false move away from catastrophe. Then, almost anticlimactically, the K-8s pull up and bank away, engines fading toward the southern horizon. The sea goes quiet again, but nobody relaxes just yet. At 0637 hours, the radar picture begins to change. The Venezuelan jets, once charging head-on, now peel away from the formation. One turns east toward the mainland. The other lingers just a little too long, circling wide like it wants one last look. Bridge, combat. Contact 1 retreating. Contact 2 maintains altitude, 9,000 feet. Copy. Maintain tracking. Hold posture. The Ford's CIC doesn't blink. Every camera, radar, FLIR feed stays locked on that departing target, and even as they fade, the systems record everything. Heat signatures, flight profiles, radio emissions, nothing is wasted. Up in the sky, the Hornets keep their distance. Viper 1 to control. Hostiles turning south, speed decreasing, no visual weapons. Copy, Viper 1. Continue shadow. Do not pursue past 50 miles. From his cockpit, Viper 1 watches the smaller jets disappear into the hazy blue horizon. For a moment, it's almost peaceful, just the hum of engines and the endless Caribbean below. Then he catches something on his radar scope, a faint spike in emissions. One Venezuelan jet just pinged the carrier group with a targeting radar. Brief, but deliberate. Ford, be advised. We were painted. Copy that. Log the pulse. No response required. The Ford doesn't react. No evasive turn, no flares, just data collection and discipline. Minutes later, the Venezuelans vanish from radar entirely. The Ford maintains course, speed 20 knots, heading north-northwest. But the story isn't over, because just an hour later, Venezuelan state television airs grainy footage of the same jets, claiming they forced the American carrier to retreat. The world sees propaganda. The Navy sees a different truth. The Ford never turned an inch. And somewhere in that calm, disciplined silence lies the real power of a carrier strike group. By midday, the incident was already echoing across international news. Venezuelan officials hailed it as a sovereign air patrol. Washington called it unsafe and unprofessional. The truth sat somewhere in between, in that thin line between deterrence and provocation. Inside the Pentagon's morning brief, analysts replayed the FLIR footage frame by frame. Every maneuver, every radio call, every second of that 600-foot pass was logged. What they saw wasn't a calculated attack. It was a show of force gone wrong, a political message written in afterburners and altitude warnings. For naval strategists, this wasn't new. These kinds of encounters, gray zone tactics, are designed to test reactions, to measure just how close you can fly before a superpower blinks. And the Ford didn't blink. The carrier's restraint sent a different kind of message, not one of fear, but of control. Anyone can pull the trigger. Discipline is harder. That's what keeps small provocations from turning into global incidents. The Ford represents the cutting edge of naval power, electromagnetic catapults, stealthy radar profiles, and a command network that can link every sensor across the fleet. Yet her most important weapon isn't technology, it's judgment. Out here, things can go from calm to chaos in seconds. One wrong move, one proud pilot, and the world's most advanced warship suddenly finds itself one heartbeat away from international crisis. The Venezuelan jets wanted to send a message. The USS Gerald R. Ford answered with silence. The kind of silence only real power can afford. Because the truth is, power at sea isn't just about missiles or fighter jets, it's about judgment, timing, and discipline. And the Ford showed all three. So here's the question for you. If you were in that cockpit, watching two foreign jets diving toward your carrier at full speed, what would you do? Would you hold your line and trust the rules of engagement? Or would you take the first shot just to be safe? Drop your answer in the comments below. I want to see how you'd handle that call. And if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Give it a like if you learned something new. Subscribe if you want more content like this. Share this video with someone who thinks aircraft carriers are just oversized cruise ships. And hey, if you want to support the channel directly, join the fleet. You'll get loyalty badges, priority replies, and help us bring more real maritime stories to the surface. Just click join on the channel page and get on board with us. Because when it comes to keeping calm in rough waters, the Gerald R. Ford just proved one thing. You don't need to shout when you're the loudest thing on the ocean.